This podcast is sponsored by Go Play Sports, the brand new mobile app changing the game for grassroots. Whether it's Sunday League or five-a-side, Go Play Sports makes it easy to track attendance, manage teams and cut out the manual admin. No more endless group chats, no more chasing payments, just turn up and play. Go Play Sports. Download now from your app store.
Let's kick it off. I'm Steve, and I'm joined by Ash and Uz, and we welcome AJ, the Arsenal fan, the Gooner from Bury. So he's basically the opposite of us guys, because we support Manchester United from the south. AJ supports Arsenal from the north, so you can tell us more about that in a little bit. But yeah, we obviously had to get a Gooner on for this episode. Unfortunately, James couldn't make it. He will be on a future episode. So on the weekend, Manchester United lost 1-0 to Arsenal at Old Trafford. Some people say United played well and deserved to win. Others say it was 3 points that Arsenal picked up, and normally they say they play well at Old Trafford and don't get the points. So Arsenal fans are taking that. So since we played so well and there's so many positives to take, we obviously have to go to Uz first and let him tell us about his take on the game.
I'd rather hear your guys' negativity. You know what? I'm going to be boring, right, with all the good stuff. Tell me, you were there, Steve, right?
No, we want to hear all the positive stuff, right? We don't want to hear any negatives. Go for it.
No. You guys go first because you were actually there. I'd love.
What's there to be negative about? Let's celebrate this. Come on.
Well, I'm just judging on the WhatsApp chat that we have, where you guys were basically.
Yeah, but we know that you can't interpretate much that well, so we might as well just get into the positivity. So let's do it.
That's what I'm saying. I want to hear from you guys. Like, what was the feeling in the stadium?
God, you're like Keir Starmer, mate. You're already starting. It's like, just get on with it.
Let's kick it off.
You're the hype man. Yeah, you're the hype man. Let's go.
No. I'm saying I will give you my opinion, but I'd like to hear because you guys were actually there, right? So you've got the best view of the game. So I think I'm probably going to be wrong. So I'd like you to just you guys give us the from the actual game itself. I'll tell you what I thought. Obviously, I'm happy to talk about that. But it'd be just nice because obviously you guys saw this from my interpretation in a more negative light than the general consensus. Right, general consensus is quite positive. So I'm more in line with that. Be good to know though the counter argument to what we've generally heard, right, in the sort of post match analysis.
I think there's two like spheres with this performance and result. You got Old Trafford, where during the game there was no negativity. Fans were cheering on the players, and you can see it on everyone's faces. They were like, "We're playing well, but we're not punching hard enough. Like, we're not getting that clear chance." And then you got the social media side of it, and also like almost like the WhatsApp side of it, where if you've watched it on TV, you're more frustrated. And also it helped sitting next to a World Cup winner who was incredibly passionate about it. Our good friend Carlos Brathwaite, former West Indies T20 world champion. So we had the buzz going into the opening day of the season. The new players, I think, helped as well. Mbumu and Cunha, they started off well, good touches. Weather was great in Manchester, as AJ will attest. Not always possible, especially in August as well. So there was a lot of good vibes. But yeah, I think because I was at the game, the negativity was more afterwards. And obviously, once you've had time to reflect on it, the biggest issue is obviously, can you keep playing like this and they're not winning? So on that note, I'll turn over to Steve because I know he was quite passionate on the Sunday evening when he got home.
Yeah, so I think it was a good performance considering you're playing the team that finished second last year and are very good at coming second. Is it 3 years in a row, AJ? Is that right?
Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
So yeah, obviously a very solid team. No one can argue with that. And end of the day, we finished 15th last season and we lost the European final to Spurs, as you've been reminding us, AJ, for the last few days. So, to put it into context, we're shit, you're good. And, I think when you look at the game, it was relatively even, or you could say we had the better of it. We had a few half chances. I remember Mbeumo getting through. I think, was it Mbeumo with the header in the second half as well? Is that right? That was probably the best chance. And according to Laurie Whitwell, who gets paid to do this, that was our only clear-cut chance of the game. So we had other half chances. If you look at the stats, I know Us loves his stats. I think XG was around 2 for Man United, and Arsenal was about 1.3. So again,
I saw 1.6, but yeah, we'll call it 2. Well, a shout out to the David Raya chance
The
as well.
open play XG was 0.3. So if you take away the fake goal that shouldn't have stood, then Arsenal didn't create anything.
Fine, okay. So you
David
can
Raya also made a really good save in the first half. It just wasn't picked up. I mean, I saw it live in terms of I thought he got a flick, but when I saw the replay later, that was actually a top save. But everyone should know my opinion on David Raya in terms of I actually rate him. So yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
So yeah, I think it was a good performance. I'm not saying it was a terrible performance. In the chat, in our WhatsApp United chat before the game, I think I made a comment that this is the equivalent of Ollie's team against Liverpool when we lost 5-0, because I saw Casemiro in the team and Bruno. Probably the one thing I did kind of forget is when you play 3 centre backs, you should have more protection. So it's not like you're playing 2 oldies in a with a back 2. So I kind of did maybe forget that, and maybe this is how Ruben's system is supposed to work. It doesn't need to be as solid for those 2 centre midfielders because you've got the 3. But yeah, going back to the game, I think it was a solid performance, but we lost ultimately. And for Ruben, that is how many defeats now? So again, if we
28.
It's one defeat. We're starting a clean slate, so I wouldn't.
No, it's not because Ruben's record at United is 15 defeats out of 28 Premier League games. That's the fastest a manager has reached 15 defeats in the competition without taking charge of a newly promoted team in that period. That's facts. You can't argue with that. So, since you gave up the chance to give your opinion, we're going to go to AJ next. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty scrappy game. I don't think it was a great game. United definitely had the better chances. Arsenal didn't really create anything. It was just that, I think Az called it a scrappy goal that shouldn't have stood, but you'll take it on the opening day. United fans looked really up for it. I think they always turn up.
Were they up for it at your barbecue, mate?
Yeah, the Twitter hyenas. But, the United fans really looked up for it. They looked like, there was quite a bit of positivity as well. I think midfield for both teams was really poor. No team had sort of control of the game at any sort of even for a 5 or 10 minute period.
Was you disappointed with Arsenal's midfield in that sense? Because the talk before the game was like, you're going to dominate, right? And rightly, because you've got 3 quality midfielders, and obviously Zubimendi's come in as well, right?
Yeah, I thought Rice was really poor, and he's always at least a 7 out of 10. And it's the first time I can really remember watching him thinking he's off it. Zubimendi didn't look like he got to grips with the Premier League. I think there was a Mbeumo elbow earlier on. I think I've mispronounced Mbeumo's name. I can never.
It's Mbeumo, but don't worry.
Right.
You're not going to say.
There's a YouTube video. There's a YouTube video, 90 minutes long, with everyone's pronunciation in the Premier League. We'll send it afterwards because we rehearsed it before.
I know what you've done, AJ, there. You've done basically Kinder Bueno, but you put the M in front of the Bueno. So you've done M Bueno, which is better, to be fair.
Yeah, so that fella, he's elbowed Zubimendi sort of quite earlier on in the game, and I think that should have been given as a foul, but it wasn't, and I think Zubimendi's got to get to grips with that. Those sort of fouls might not be given in the Premier League. I thought Odegaard was okay, but he looked a little bit missing in terms of he weren't linking up with Saka, or Rice wasn't really there with him. Again, I thought Saka wasn't great. I thought Martinelli, until he came off, was quite poor, and Gyökeres didn't really get anything. Everyone, that's the chatter, right?
Do you think
Gyökeres,
that is like typical of the back end of Arsenal last season, though, just carrying on into this season? Or do you think it's just like players, new players in the system? And what's your take on that? Like, do you think it's just a continuation, really, of like back end of last season?
No, I think it's definitely there's a bit of a change. So usually we'll play Timber at right back and Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back. We had White, who looked a little bit off it, and Calafiori, not he doesn't convince me totally defensively, and I think he looked really off it on Sunday. So that was an issue. Obviously, we're playing Zubimendi in central midfield, so he's got to get up to speed. And then a completely new striker in Gyökeres who's making different runs to Havertz. So everyone's a little bit sort of edgy and sort of not connected a little bit. I'd say that, early on in the season, get your points on the board. That's all that matters. And I know everyone's sort of mocking the Arsenal fans for, celebrating winning at Old Trafford, but funnily enough, I don't think we've got an amazing record at Old Trafford.
I was just mocking the set piece chant.
Yeah. I mean, we always have, usually beat United at the Emirates, but at Old Trafford, we generally get a draw, a couple of wins here or there. So yeah, pretty happy with a win. Move on to the next one, I think, for Arsenal.
I got to say, Arsenal centre backs, because I was there as well. They were top, like both of them. I know, there was a few complaints about the odd pass and stuff like that, but overall, when you go to Old Trafford, look, United dominated the ball. There's a couple of thoughts I got on that in terms of how much did Arsenal sit back, especially after scoring after 14 minutes, and then they just consumed it. But obviously United did do some good pressing as well. But yeah, I just think a shout out to Saliba and Gabriel. I thought they were superb.
Yeah, they're brilliant, and they have been for the last couple of seasons. The only time, even I was going to say the only time we've had issues is when one of them has been missing through injury or suspension. But last year we had Gabriel out for a couple of months, and Kiwior came in, played the Real Madrid games, and was really, really good. So I think Arsenal, they've got that strength in depth at centre half and at full back position. So yeah, it bodes well for the season.
As you're shaking your head, the comment about Arsenal just prepared to sit back. So do you wanna actually expand on the shake head?
Yeah, I don't. It's a question just generally about the manager approaches. So, AJ, I think your analysis is basically bang on. This player didn't play well. This player didn't, etc. And then how much of it was, for me, I looked at the Mikel Arteta and I'm like, what are they doing? This is the most direct I've seen Arsenal. It's almost like you're like, oh, we didn't dominate the midfield. You almost didn't try to. You're playing so fast, so direct. It didn't suit Arsenal. It was almost like you're trying to get it quickly to Gyökeres because that's his game. And then I thought De Ligt handled him really well. But when I think of Arsenal, I think of slow possession, build a structure, get to Saka, White on the overlap, Odegaard comes in, build a triangle, do the little 1-2. I never saw any of this. Zubimendi, the ball was just going over his head the whole game. Yep. Declan Rice's touch was, poor. So it was like, how much of it was, you're saying that new players fitting in. We had lots of new players fitting in. How much was it new players, or what's his tactical instruction to just, let's go chaos ball. Let's just play an end to. It felt like a very end to end, open game, and I was like, what are Arsenal doing here? It just seemed weird. I don't know. Do you think Arteta's got a new approach for the season, or was this nerves on the first day? It felt weird.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's not a new approach because that is, it's not great football to watch. I think a couple of years ago, we went on a bit of a run when City were massively ahead. And then after Christmas, we went on a run and we won basically every game, 4-0, 5-0. I think there was a 6-0 at one point. And it was, that famous phrase, taking the handbrake off. And I think that's Arteta's ideal sort of scenario. Now, I think he's been hurt a couple of times. There's been a few games where we've taken the handbrake off and dropped points from, a 2-0 position. I think Fulham a couple of seasons ago has hurt. I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's been a few where we've dropped points. We shouldn't have. Aston Villa, last season.
I called it the bottle period from 2 years ago. That was in jest, but that was when essentially Arsenal blew up, right? They were superb up until about April. They went 2-0 up at West Ham, 2
Yep.
Liverpool, and then Man City. That was the big one, right? He tried to do no handbrake, as you're calling it, and got battered 4-1. And then it's almost like the handbrake was too much last year because a lot of draws, right?
Yeah, you could do the handbrake through the control. It felt like the game was too open. Why didn't you get maybe our pressing? I mean, we can give maybe credit to Ruben and the pressing structure. It just felt your build up didn't exist. I think, nice build up, get the ball to Zubimendi, make 15, 20 passes. That's another way of like Pep does this, like maintain control of the game through having the ball. We had 60+% possession, even though we were attacking very directly. I think you conceded more than 20 shots. I think there was a stat that in the last 3 years, only one game against Man City did you concede 20 shots. And yeah, we were like Steve's going to say, oh yeah, but they were crap chances or whatever. But in football, if you shoot the goal 20 times, if you don't have Gabriel Saliba and David Raya, one of them usually goes in. So it felt like, the Arsenal way of controlling the game would be more have the 60% of the ball. Just was very strange that where Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount midfield is dominating Arsenal.
Yeah, Steve, what do you think about the pressing for United? Was it more the United pressing, or do you think Arsenal? I think that should be pointed out. I think AJ touched on it, right? The record at Old Trafford is not great. Like even certain games going into in previous seasons, like they're big favourites, and like Rashford's debut game when they should have like famously won to try and beat Leicester to the title. So there's obviously like a general nervousness when they come to Old Trafford. But Steve, what did you think? Like with the pressing aspect of United, should it be as credited as highly as people are saying, or do you think it's a mix of like the Arsenal kind of like got the handbrake on and a bit nervous?
Yeah, I didn't notice our pressing being particularly good, like excellent. It might have been solid.
Okay, here's a question for you. Forget how good was our press. How good was Arsenal's build-up? Because that tells you how good our press was. And how good was our build-up versus their build-up. For me, we got the ball from goalkeeper into centre-back, round to the wing-back and out of the press, and they never did. So one team built up well and didn't press well. So you've got to look at it and go, okay, our press isn't... Well, why one of the best technical teams not able to build up from the back? We must have pressed well.
Well, no, what I was going to say was what I felt was I really enjoyed watching Mbumu, in particular in that first half. Like, he was really direct, like running at them. His touches were good. So, maybe was our attack more potent, possibly, rather than the press being better?
Yeah, you got to say Arsenal centre-halves looked edgy. I know, Ash, you were really... sort of complimentary about the two centre-halves, but for a lot of the game, they looked a little bit rash and a little bit edgy on the ball. And Gabriel, he's not as silky as Saliba, but he's very, very good on the ball. And he looked a little bit off it. I think at one point he kicked it out for a throw-in that, should never have been, I think United did press well. And I think you lost that a little bit with Sesko coming on. I think Mount did really well. Pressing, and I think you lost that a little bit with Sesko coming on. But yeah, I don't think that you can say that United's pressing wasn't good. I definitely think there was something in there.
I think it was solid. I just think our attack was better than yours. I think it was a pretty even game, and like we've said it was open, but I think our attack did more. Like we created more openings. We ran at you, and I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I've not seen that in a long time, just like that directness. And I was saying to Ash and Carlos, I think like I'm really enjoying watching this, and the goal didn't come, and then obviously concede a shocking goal, which we should touch on the selection, right? So Ruben dropped Onana out of the matchday squad. So yeah, what did you make of that decision?
I think I think Onana's far better than Bayern, but I think he's doing it on fitness, right? Because Onana's been injured, missed all of pre-season. And that
to be out of the squad.
Yes, it must be like he doesn't think he's fit enough. He's not. He's better than Tom Heaton. So the question now is, we've got to wait for the next game. Was it Sunday? Then you'll know. Is there a thing where it's with Ruben, you'll know, because he's a guy who won't mess around.
I think we know now, I think we know now.
You think he's gone? You think Onana's done?
Yeah, I think that was a statement. You don't drop him from the match. Like, come on, he's a goalkeeper. How much fitness do you need? Like,
Okay, I'm going to wait until the weekend. But okay, fair enough. If he's done, he's done. Then I'm just going to say I don't know. If he's done, he's done. But Bayern is not good enough even as a number 2. So I feel it was a foul on the goal. But it's the Premier League.
Do you think that if that was given against United, would you have said that's a foul?
It's definitely a foul, but it's the Premier League, and it's never going to get overturned on VAR. right? It should be overturned on VAR. The referee's never going to see it. You get basically the Premier League referees allow things that, in my opinion, you shouldn't. For me, the way I vision football is more the way they play it in the Champions League. And that's a foul in the Champions League. Like all day long, you can't touch the goalkeeper. And I just think in football, why should you be able to but it's just, I find that whole kind of in swinging corner where everyone's crowding it around the goalkeeper, I just don't like it. It's very Stoke City to me. Like just do an out swinger and try and head the ball in. I find it just a bit like rugby. So, but it's the Premier League. You know, it's like this white Victorian masculine game where you can elbow people and get away with stuff. So
what about the flapping of the hand? Why is he not like putting his fist and punching it rather
not strong
than
enough.
flapping?
He's not good enough goalkeeper. Like he's not strong enough. Like in the Premier League, you got to be physical. You got to be big and strong, and he's got to basically punch the guy in the head and then punch the ball, because that's what you do in England.
I think the test was, long after the Arsenal goal, United had a corner and try to do something similar to Raya. And Raya just picked it up, no problems at all. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I don't think Raya's generally a tall keeper.
He's not, but he's one of the best in the air. That's the big difference.
You never have a worry that he's going to get dominated like a Vicario or a Bayern or even an Onana at times. Yeah,
it's an interesting thing. Is height is not as much of an. So Donnarumma, who keeps getting linked with us, is also very poor on crosses, and he's massive. So actually, height isn't a thing. It's a lot of it's to do with what David Raya's good is judging the flight of the ball. And if you judge the flight of the ball well and you have your use of the hands, you always have an advantage. And he claims crosses really, really well because he judges the ball flight, knows when to come, when not to come, and how and to punch. And he dealt with exactly the same situation far better. I just think that our league, we should just they should just referee the Premier League the way they do in the Champions League. I don't know why we have this weird...
Because we're England.
Yeah, just like they get away with like way over the top physical challenges, stuff that's a yellow card. Obviously, the referee was there was some challenge with like that's a yellow card in the Champions League, and then who's the guy on the commentary coming in going, "Oh yeah, he's managing the game," blah blah blah. I'm like, nah, it's a yellow. Come on,
Steve, our resident goalkeeper, talk to us.
Yeah, he's got to be stronger. When you watch it in slow motion, yeah, you could probably argue it might be a foul, but for me, it's not clear cut enough to just overturn it.
VAR will never overturn it.
Yeah, and I do think you've got to be stronger. You've got to have more command of your area. And
do you remember the Spurs game, Ash? We were at the Spurs game. The guy was useless on crosses.
Yeah,
he was like absolutely useless. He's not good enough to be a number two. We need to. If we're moving Onana, and I'd sign two goalkeepers.
On that note. Let's play a bit of devil's advocate, or should I say Samuel Luckhurst. And I don't know if you saw it, but he challenged Ruben after the game about it, and he said, "Why didn't Tom Heaton start?" Was there an argument for you based on games like Spurs in the League Cup last year? If Onana's not fit or whatever's going on there, like, would you have started Tom Heaton?
No, because Tom Heaton's not even good enough either. Tom Heaton's a classic number three who's English and therefore fills the squad requirement. Who's good in the
good for the dressing room. You're classic Lee Grant, yeah.
For me, Onana is
Scott
good
Carson.
enough. For me, Onana is good enough. He's a mid-level average Premier League goalkeeper, but he's good enough. Like he's mid-table, and that's good enough to goalkeep in the Premier League. Bayern is not a Premier League level goalkeeper.
AJ, just quickly,
go on.
What's your perspective? Like, foul?
No, I mean, you're giving fouls all day long for that. I'm not convinced that...
Question, if that was in the Champions League, would it be a foul?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, interesting.
I'm not sure. I don't think it'd be considered a foul. It's a physical game at the end of the day. We see that sort of stuff go on all the time.
It'd be a foul in La Liga and Serie A. Like 100%.
And the Bundesliga. But look, I'm not trying to say like it should have been a foul and therefore we should have got a draw or a win. We've had many situations against Arsenal where we score like a fantastic counter-attack goal, but Arsenal have 65% of the ball.
To me, there are fouls, by the way, there are fouls all over that box that we should just get rid of. Like, I see shirt pulling, even from our players, pulling shirts.
Cunha pulled one of the Arsenal boys before the ball even got there.
It was not just a foul on the goalkeeper. He's grabbing Mount's shirt. You should just not be allowed to touch the other player's shirt. It's just as simple as that. And both teams are doing it, and it's like, get rid of this.
Yeah, but isn't that the Premier League? This is Man United Arsenal. Like when you look back at the rivalry, isn't that what we love as well? Like that.
Yeah, you
passion,
can't.
I
that
don't
fight.
like shirt pulling. No, I want to see good football, and I don't. For
Well,
me,
then you should go and watch. You should go and watch La Liga then.
I do watch.
I
the
thought you were
Liga.
going to say play chess.
No, I do watch the Liga, but the thing is,
but
though,
this
I
is
love
not the
about
Premier League.
like good football is on the deck stuff. If you like, no, this is the thing. It's taste, right? If you want to watch Stoke City and corners and smashing into goalkeepers, that's your thing. I'm going back to that point of the Arsenal way. I love watching Arsenal when they get on the ball, they do the little triangles, the interchange, the little that is what I want to see. And if I put Arsenal to win the league, I want to see them play proper football, because that to me is what's when they're at their best. It's flowing. Odegaard's getting on the ball. That right-hand side link-up is so good. Saka, you say Saka had a bad game, but Saka's whole thing is having players around him to link with, not just one-on-one driving physically, right? Like Salah. Saka's beautiful in those tight spots, but Arsenal didn't build the team up. They didn't take enough time on the ball to get their players up the field into positions for the likes of a Saka to have a good game. So for me, it's a tactical problem.
I think that what's interesting is, and I think it was touched upon on the last pod with Cabs, the Premier League is changing in terms of the way football's been played over the last few years. Before, it was more positional, the inverted fullbacks. You saw a lot last season, particularly with the mid-table teams, like essentially one-on-one battles. Can you win your one-on-one duel? And if you get past that player, you're basically into space. Like you saw it with like Man City against Wolves. They got Pep Linders now as assistant. They played a very Liverpool Klopp line at the back where they squeeze really aggressively, and they're just taking more risk essentially. And I don't know if that was Arteta's way of trying to do that on Sunday, and it just like failed pretty badly for all sorts of different reasons.
Arteta, AJ come in on this, I think the way that Arteta could take more risk is not play 4 centre-backs. Lewis Skelly's unbelievable. I've seen him in person. Brilliant. Timber is far better as a possession player. If you put Lewis Skelly and Timber in the full-back positions, you have an inversion of Lewis Skelly into midfield. Control the game. And to me, for me, his team selection, 4 centre-backs, negative. I don't know, AJ, what you think of your full-backs and the difference.
Yeah, I found it strange. We played both Calafiori and White. Generally, I think the team, unfortunately, has outgrown Ben White as a first choice right back. I think Timber has
too much time on the tanning bed, right, for Ben White.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a good old tan, mate. But with don't get me started on the United players.
Please, I had to drop a bomb in there.
No, so with
he's got to do something with his time because he hates football, right?
So with don't get me started on that sort of stuff. But with Ben White, I think the team's outgrown him. Unfortunately, as a first choice right back, I think he'll end up being a sort of utility player at centre half to close out games, or right back to come on for Timber. If
you're playing in a game where you think the left-sided winger is super strong, which we don't have a left-sided winger, we have Patrick Dorgu, and when Cunha's was number 10, Mason Mount. If you're playing against
great effort by Dorgu, by the way, that hit the post, right?
Yeah, brilliant, really good game. But if you're playing in a game where you're playing against, I don't know, Real Madrid, and you got Vinny and Mbappe, and you want more centre-back physicality, fine. But against United, come on. Get Lewis Skelly in there, Timber in there, and you've got a completely different team.
Is it because Arteta thought I'll play 4 centre-backs to match United's new physicality and dribbling ability? Because like Mbeumo and Cunha are extremely strong and like good at dribbling. So maybe he thought with 4 centre-backs, it's essentially a block, right? And it's hard to get through a block, especially if you're going to sit deep. It's not like Arsenal tried to push the line up, right? We know that they camped.
Yeah, I think so. With Cunha, I thought was really good. There's a bit of for Suarez about him, that the ball just seems to stick to him and go through
players and he gets it.
Yeah, he seems to cause a bit
people, and that streak.
Yeah,
there's a bit of that as well. I think
he has that. You know what? Let me do my positive thing. I absolutely loved the game. I loved it. Cunha, loved him. I thought brilliant. Mbeumo, let's get it right.
I thought,
he looked he's still rusty. This is the thing. Actually, I disagree with you, Steve. I think in the final third we were poor, but I think we got the ball to the final third really well in dangerous situation. Like,
The shots, yeah.
a fully fit Mbermo who understands where Dallo is, knows where Cunha's going to run. Some of those runs were just the wrong run, the wrong timing, the wrong moment. I'm like, these are dangerous situations. If they start working this out, I thought Ahmad when he came on as well, he was just like, bang, beat the guy, byline, bang, bang. But I was like, I'm loving this. These are the play. We've got great, much more dribbles, much more threat. Sesko comes on, and we lack that physical presence in the box. But I was like, yeah, finally a guy who's going to be in the box. Thank God, United.
Yeah.
Let's touch on that because that's probably the only thing from a United perspective we haven't talked about, and it was a big talking point in the trip up to Old Trafford once we heard the lineup. Dallo starting instead of Ahmad. Talk to us, Steve.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only time of the day that I disagreed with Carlos, because I think you were sitting in between us, and it was the moment when I think Dallo was on the overlap. And Mbumo played him in, and Dallo had kind of like, he was kind of through in terms of past the fullback and had an opening to basically cross it. His only option was to cross it or basically come back, but there was no one in the box. So Dallo being Dallo puts in a
no
shit
one in the
cross,
box. I agree with that.
Puts a shit cross into no one, which is what Dallo normally does. And then me and Carlos had a little disagreement because I said, why didn't Ruben play a striker? Why didn't he start a striker? Because there was no one in the box. Carlos said, yeah, that's true, but why is Dallo crossing it if there's no one in the box? And I was like, yeah, that's true as well. So
I was going to say, I'm sure you backed down pretty quickly to the 6'4" cricketer.
Yeah. But no.
Don't worry, I was in the middle of it. I was keeping them apart.
I think that sums up Dallo though, right? Just like there, but no end product. So in terms of Ahmad, yeah.
But this is going to be a problem during the season because it was a Europa League problem. Like when we needed to change the game in the Europa final, Dallo was brought on. I've used this term, I think, a little bit last season. He is a lieutenant. Ron confirmed to me he's part of the leadership group. And look, he's a solid pro. He's solid at what he does at fullback. But when you have to play wing back, you need to have the ability to take on players. Obviously, the one good thing was the substitute of Ahmad was early in the second half. But yeah, I was just thinking constantly because we had such a great view in that first half. When Mbumo picks the ball up, that overlap run, Dallo made the right run. But yeah, then you need a striker. You can't have Mason Mount because Mason Mount is very good at pressing, but he's not going to be a box presence. And I'm not even sure about his goal record, especially at United. But I don't know, Az, what do you think?
We've signed a striker. He has just come into the squad, and it made. I understood it. I put Sesko in my FPL team because I know that even though he wasn't going to start this game, I expect him to start the next game, and so I'm not worried. And this is the thing, Arsenal. I don't know, AJ. You're saying United fans mocking Arsenal or something for celebrating. To me, it's a big game. You should be celebrating. It's a big win, and Ruben had to respect Arsenal as an outfit and not just Steve. You're saying, it sounded like the Ollie team sheet because it was too attacking. Well, imagine if Ahmad's playing right wing back, you'd be like, well, this is ridiculous, right? So at least with Dallo, you have some solidity, and then when we needed to chase the game, he brings Ahmad on. So it's just one of those options, right? Against a better team, you're going to play a more defensive lineup, and yeah. I think Sesko. I'm happy. I'm really happy. Actually, I want to ask AJ because we've talked enough. I was happy with Sesko. I think Sesko's the right signing for us. I think Gyökeres is the right signing for Arsenal because he's more in his peak and you want to win now. But I thought De Ligt had him in his pocket. So just curious to know what you think of this, just generally on the Sesko signing. Do you think he's going to be a difference maker? And is this just him getting used to the first game, etc.?
The problem I have with the Sesko signing for United, so I've got a different opinion to you, as I think the other way round would have been better for both clubs. The reason I say that is Sesko's young, 22. And when you signed Rasmus Højlund, he was 20, 21, around that sort of age.
Yeah, maybe 19, 20, yeah.
Yeah, really young, so not too dissimilar in terms of sort of age profile and experience. I'm guessing Sesko's maybe got a year on when you signed Højlund.
He's got more experience as well. Højlund had basically 6 months at top level. Sesko, I think, had a full season at Salzburg, then I think 2 at Leipzig. So he's like played a decent number of games. And the reason I'm
definitely more than Højlund.
For me, our whole thing with Omar Barada is Project 28. We're not trying to win the league this year. We're trying to win the league in 3 years. So for me, 22.
And I'm trying to win the lottery in 3 years as well.
I know, but what I'm saying is that when the idea is that the 25-year-old Sesko hopefully will be good, while I think Arsenal should be trying to win the league today. Like if you sign Sesko, I think Havertz is probably the better player still. Well, I'm thinking aren't you signing Gyökeres to start now to win the Premier League title today? Now?
Yeah. So if I just flesh out the Sesko point, I was just going to make it was basically the pressure at Old Trafford is immense, right? And the only striker that I can think of in the last sort of 10 years that has dealt with it, since Van Persie, I feel dirty saying
Thanks
that name.
Thanks for that shout out to Van Persie.
Yeah, I felt a
we
little
won't
bit,
do the song.
gross.
We might release a reel instead.
We won't do our song about him as well. So, since Van Persie and Rooney, really, the only striker I can think of who's handled the pressure is Ibrahimovic, right?
I thought you were going to say Zlatan. Well played.
CR7 for a season.
Yeah, but again, it's that sort of mentality, that experience that I just want to score goals and I'm ready. If you look at Gyökeres's career, it's a hungry career. This Brighton reject nonsense is all rubbish, but, didn't make it at Brighton, went to Coventry and, went to Portugal after, and he feels like he's ready at 27, a similar age that he signed Ian Wright after a similar-ish career, the hungry, right? So I don't think that Gyökeres at Old Trafford would wilt. I just don't see it. Sesko possibly could in a Rasmus Højlund kind of way. Young striker signed for a few years. I mean, you've had Højlund for a couple of years now, and he just seems the shadow of the player when he made his debut against Arsenal.
Just to make that point, AJ,
yeah.
And I'll let you finish off. But Sesko chose us over Newcastle, right? He could have taken the less pressure option, Champions League football. He could have taken them, right? But he did choose United. So I'll let you carry on. But I guess consider that.
That's true. That's true. I do think when United call and, your competition is Newcastle and maybe a couple of other teams, you've got to choose United. And you're not going to be a top level player without sort of backing yourself. So I don't really blame Sesko for taking that offer. I mean,
you blame Gyökeres for choosing Arsenal over United because that's what happened as well.
Yeah, and I think Gyökeres, that's definitely not true. But I definitely think that Gyökeres at United wouldn't wilt. I think he'll do well at Arsenal. I think he'll take a bit of time just to get used to him. Sesko, and I agree, as the talk is we need to win the title now, so your best chance is Gyökeres. If this was 2 or 3 years ago, when there's a bit more sort of leeway and, we're not quite sure where this Arteta project's going, you'd have wanted a Sesko for the future. But you're right, it's Gyökeres for the here and now.
What's your early thoughts on Gyökeres? Like, do you see much of him at pre-season?
No, I didn't. I didn't really watch pre-season, to be honest. You just sort of follow it through Twitter and that sort of stuff. And the first game at United, it's always going to be tough. I don't think he was terrible. I don't think he was as bad as people made out to be. And you can never judge off the first game. We've got to give it a couple. I remember Martial scoring 2, or at least 1 against Liverpool on his debut. And where did that end up? So,
was the best player for us that season. But I would say also just credit to Matthias de Ligt. I thought in terms, Gyökeres is this physical guy, loves physical contact. Obviously, we would watch his goal reels, right? Because we're like, we're linked with Gyökeres, this whole saga. And every time you watch him in Sporting, it was like smash out these Portuguese guys out the way. You're not smashing De Ligt. De Ligt was strong, powerful. So I think that'll be very interesting to see because the average Premier League defender is so much more physical. It'd be really interesting to see whether he can deal with the contact. But I'm going to go back to my old point. I want to see Arsenal just do their usual thing and Gyökeres just not have to do all this bullying. Play it around, sit in the box, wait for the cutback, put in a tap in. Right? They were asking too much of him. It was going to him too early. get the midfield going, get your wingers in the game, and then let him just be tap-in guy, right? Finish it all.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea. But like you said earlier on, I think you've both, all three of you, made the point. Is this a new Arteta? Is this a new way of playing? A sort of, I don't really want to say a long ball way, but without the build up, a little bit quicker, a little bit more direct. Whether it suits us, I don't know. Whether it gets results, and Gyökeres is rendered ineffective outside of the penalty box, then whether that
it doesn't
gets us
suit the
results.
signing of Zuma. If you sign Zubimendi,
Yeah.
you play the possession game. It's like
Yeah.
he's the best guy at it. It doesn't make sense. Here's a question for you. I think Havertz is actually decent as a 9. I actually looked at your squad and I'm like, I think the weakness is left wing, and you could have upgraded there. Do you think it would make more sense to go and get, I don't know, a Rodrigo, Leao, one of these left winger guys who can score the goals and still play Havertz as 9? Or do you actually think, no, all these people who've been saying for 3 years, Arsenal have to sign a striker. They've done the right thing and gone big on the striker.
Or
Yeah,
Eze,
so I think-
can you bring him in still?
Yeah, so I think Eze's basically a done deal with Tottenham, right? That seems to be the talk, that it's all going Tottenham.
Payment terms, I think, is the issue at the moment.
It's done and dusted, I think.
But why
I
are
think-
you guys not in there? Like, you have been
Beats
linked to
me.
him this summer, right?
Yeah, we should have gone in for him. And I think the issue we've had over the last couple of seasons was in that front three, all the pressure was on Saka, and we just overplayed him. And I think in previous seasons, when people underestimated Arsenal, especially in that first season, we went on this little bit of a run and challenge for the title. Martinelli ended up getting quite a lot of space. And teams now sitting back, Martinelli is not as cute as a Saka. So if you bring in a Gyökeres, it just alleviates a little bit of pressure off Saka and takes a little bit more, I'd say, attention away from that left winger. And I think maybe that'll open it up. But I think, we have to have an upgrade on Trossard and Martinelli.
And then the question, I guess, part of my question is also, what's your view on Havertz? Because I like Havertz. I think he's decent.
Really like him. Yeah.
But he's not. He doesn't get in the team. You've upgraded a guy that I think was decent, while not upgrading the side where I'm like, oh, but there's lots. Get a left winger.
I think Gyökeres is definitely an upgrade on Havertz as a player. There's no doubt about that. Agreed on the left winger. There should have been a left winger. I think Rodrigo was mooted about for 100 million, and he's not played for the last few games for Madrid, sort of pre-season and the Club World Cup. And then I think Madrid started their campaign today, and he's not started, or he's not in the squad, I'm not sure, but he's definitely out of favour at Madrid. 100 million, after spending 50 odd on Zubimendi, 50 odd on Gyökeres and a couple of other bits and bobs. I don't think we'll pay 100 million, but like Ash was saying, 50 odd million for Eze is a no-brainer. Good age profile, great
Supports
player.
Arsenal, would
Supports Arsenal,
join you in a heartbeat over Spurs.
So there's the question: would you take Havertz and Eze, or Martinelli and Gyökeres? Which pair would you prefer? Because they're saying you can sign one of them, Gyökeres or Eze.
Yeah.
Which is the stronger front three now?
Yeah, that's difficult, right? Because like you are, I really like Havertz. I've always liked him.
And I love Eze. I think Eze's brilliant. I think Spurs is going to get a great player.
Yeah,
Shame he's
I
gonna
think
waste his career there, but yeah.
Speaking of great players, what do you make of Kobe Mainoo not getting any minutes on Sunday?
It's really interesting that you guys as well in your chat seem to blame the system. And I'm like, what are these guys talking about? If ever there was a system that suits Kobe Mainoo, it's a 3-4-3 as the advanced midfielder in the midfield too. Like, if the reason he's not playing is Bruno Fernandes is more key to this team. And why is he more key to this team? Because Bruno Fernandes passes the ball.
Because we have 6 big tens.
No, because no. Okay, if you're having a system, you want to play the best players for the system, right? You can't play the 6 number 10s. So now the question is, why is Bruno playing ahead of Kobe? Because he passes the ball better. Kobe Mainoo needs to learn to pass the ball, right? He's decent.
How is he going to learn out of the team?
No, he'll get minutes because there's going to be rotation. Mason Mount played, for example. Kobbie Mainoo could have played instead of Mason Mount. You're like, oh, why is Mason Mount playing? Because Mason Mount.
But this is what I mean.
There's
Mason
no
Mount-
way Kobbie Mainoo could do the role that Mason Mount did on Sunday. Not a chance.
No.
He can't,
No. Bruno Fernandes steps up one, and Kobbie Mainoo comes into the obvious position that he. What I don't get is why you think it's a system issue, because 3-4-3. Kobbie Mainoo played 3-4-3 in the World Cup with England.
Bruno has been essentially shoehorned into a position that he doesn't really want to play. Like you can keep on saying that he plays it for Portugal, but international football is different.
3-4-3.
But he still plays more of a controller aspect for
So
Portugal compared to
here's the
fireball guy.
Would you rather, in that, given that it's not his best position, right? You agree, but it's not his best. It doesn't get the most out of Bruno. Would you drop Bruno and put Kobbie in? Because Kobbie should be good enough now in his best position, central midfield, and you just drop Bruno, or you say Bruno, you're ahead of Mason Mount because you're better than Mason Mount, or you're ahead of Cunha, or you're ahead of
because of the two teams. There's a spot. Well, actually, even at the back, right? Because you're playing an extra defender, there's a missing spot in the midfield, and that's where Kobbie Mainoo would play. That's why I think the system is the problem.
No, because if he's good enough, you have a defensive midfielder in front of a back three. He's just a natural position for Kobbie to be the more advanced of in front of four defensive players, basically, right?
My prediction will be that he doesn't get the minutes that you're confident that he'll get,
because he still needs to improve as a passing midfielder.
And
he
to
needs
the
to improve
point,
his athleticism.
how is he gonna do that if he's only playing in the League Cup and there's just not enough games this season?
Improve on the training ground. Like a squad is a squad. And it's a great question, AJ. Do you think Kobbie Mainoo gets in the Arsenal team?
I'd love him at Arsenal. I really would.
Would you play him ahead of Declan Rice?
No, hold on. More obviously, does he get in the United team?
No, would you play him ahead of Declan Rice?
No, he's not going to play the Declan Rice role. He'll play a different role, or Declan Rice will play.
No.
Would you play? No. Let AJ answer.
So.
Okay, actually, here's a question, AJ. Is Kobbie Mainoo
Let him answer.
No, it's a question.
Answer all the questions.
Remember all the questions.
Steve,
then answer them, AJ.
Your question. You don't phrase your questions well, AJ.
Okay,
would he get in your team ahead of Bruno Fernandes, Mateus Cunha, and Mbeumo, all the attacking midfielders?
The ones that we signed over them, AJ. Don't forget. The ones that we signed, knowing we have Kobbie.
Yeah, because they're more impactful than Kobbie Mainoo.
You ask the questions in a way that the answer supports you. We're not stupid.
No, I'm just asking to answer.
Right, shut up. Let AJ talk. Shut up, all of you.
What do you think of Kobbie Mainoo, AJ? That's the question.
Okay, so I'll answer this question in a roundabout way, right? So I think
don't do a Keir Starmer, AJ. Come on, let's get the real AJ out.
So I think Fernandes is a problem for you guys. I really do. I think as a 10 in a 4-3. Or, however you want to do it,
4-2-3-1.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Behind the striker, he was here, there, and everywhere, right? I think that was a problem, but you could cover it because you had two defensive-ish midfielders about. I think with three at the back, with a split on it, when you're attacking and
it's a blanket,
you're on
isn't it, to have a
you've got. I think. If Bruno's playing that sort of role where he's here, there and everywhere, I think it might cause a few issues, especially if your centre-back split. If I was United, I'd have sold in the summer, taken the 100 million and gone for a Belieber or a Belieber and a Mainoo midfield. Now, that's really something. Would he play? He's not going to play ahead of Fernandes, and Casemiro seems to have got the trust, last sort of few months from Ruben Amorim back end of last season, and he started on Monday. On Sunday, looks a lot fitter. So he's not going to play ahead of them two, and he's definitely not going to play ahead of Brian and Cunha, right? So I sort of agree. I'm going to do a Keir Starmer and agree with everyone here, right? I think Steve, what you're saying is, he's not going to get the minutes, I'm afraid, unless it's in a League Cup. And how can you improve if it's not the first team, that's playing out? But I think the Bruno role could be a problem in centre midfield, I'm afraid. I think for United, it seems to be a little bit of an issue that I saw anyway on Sunday.
AJ,
Whether he tweaks it.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I wanted to touch upon the Fulham game, because obviously there's a lot of positive noise, rightly, but I think what we're going to see over the next few games is interesting, because we've got Fulham away, always a difficult game for us, even historically. And then we got Burnley at home, where there is literally no excuses about winning. And what will be interesting about Bruno in that position is the opposition midfielders he's going to be up against, because it's not about the technicality sides about these opposition, it's the physical side, it's the physicality. I think Arsenal were a bit respectful, and also we've touched upon a few points. I think the next few games we're really going to see how it's all going to work in that midfield, both in terms of when Bruno's got the ball and when people are going to try and press him, and also obviously going the other way, like in terms of like when we're transitioned on, like can Bruno press high up, and then also is Casemiro going to be able to cover all that space when the three centre backs can't push up? That will be interesting.
Yeah, this is my thing. The other point of what Cobby needs to improve on, he is as weak as Bruno defensively. Like, people go, oh yeah, Bruno problem, this problem, transition, this and that. Cobby Mainoo can't run either. He needs to improve his athleticism. And once he does get these two things, his athleticism, his off the ball work, and his passing, Bruno will be sold next summer, I think. I think he's staying around for 1 year for the transition. We will sign Belaber or an equivalent, and he will be the natural heir to that, and he's going to play with less pressure this season. He's going to get his slowly minutes coming, and he is the future of the Man United midfield, and the system is fine for him. So I think, yeah, Bruno's staying for 1 more year to just handle the transition year to the World Cup, and then he's going to Saudi.
So I'll just close on Mainoo. For me,
Project 28 is Cobby Mainoo is
no. I get what you're saying. Like I don't actually necessarily think it's the system per se. I think it's the players we've got already in the squad plus the system, because it's difficult to find the right space for him. So I think ideally for Mainoo, if you were building the team around him, it would be a 4-3-3, because you'd have a solid DM, Belaber for example, another CM that's probably a box-to-box, and then Cobby as the third midfielder with a front three in front of him. So he's got options, and he's taking the ball from the DM, moving it into the final third and feeding those attackers. That's the best spot on the pitch for Cobby Mainoo, in my opinion.
I think he can play as an 8 as well.
But also, that's the best spot for Bruno. This is the thing. He's competing against Bruno. You're describing a DM, a number 8 box-to-box, and then the third guy. That's Bruno Fernandes. So he has to be better than Bruno Fernandes.
Well. No,
I think he has to be better than Bruno Fernandes.
If you had a top-quality DM, I think you could play the three of them in there.
Yep,
I agree as well. Like, I think if you have, like, let's say Belaber, Cobby Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes. Bruno's the one who's the most advanced of them three.
If you have a top-quality DM, he can play in the 3-2 as well. That's my point. Once we sign the DM, Belaber, next season, Cobby Mainoo, there's not a system issue. He can literally slot next to Belaber with a back three.
Let's see.
He's got to get to next season first.
I'm just saying, if we waste another academy talent, I won't be happy. So we'll close it there on Cobby.
On Arteta, from the Arsenal fans that I've been speaking to, like some season ticket holders as well, actually, there seems to be like this pressure of if you don't win the league, then Arteta's job is on the line. Like, where would you be on that? Like, let's say worst case scenario, you finish 4th. Is there any chance for you that you'd consider like replacing him, or you just fix it in the summer, next summer?
Yeah, he's got the keys to the club. That team, that club is built in Arteta's image.
He's got full backing from the board, right? So like they're not going to panic.
So I'll give you a scenario though. For me, a manager change is all about not just the out, but the in. Yep. Let's say in the summer, okay, let's say the City 115 comes in, Guardiola's available. Let's say Luis Enrique's like, this Paris stuff is boring. I'm fed up of that. He's available. Jurgen Klopp's like got an itch and he's like, oh, I need to get back into management. I need, I'm bored with these betting adverts. I need some money.
Is he from Scotland or?
Exactly. Now, who would you go with? Would you still stick with Arteta, or we got Carlo Ancelotti's like, I've done the well, I can't do the.
I won the World Cup.
I've done the World Cup. Brazil have won the World Cup.
I'll take one of them for United. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but now AJ, that's the real test, right? I'm giving you like the full
top level. Yeah, I think it's a good question, and you'd be silly to be like, yeah,
you're still trusting the process.
4 of them. Yeah, and I think you've got to look at it this way, right? Arteta has taken us from. The back end of Wenger was shocking. You didn't know what was going to happen. we were terrible. And football wasn't actually great. We were signing Lacazette for 50 odd million, and then the striker that we all needed. And 4 or 5 months later, we're signing Aubameyang for 65 million. There was no plan. There was no foresight. It was a mess, right?
Nicolas Pepe for 70 million.
Yeah, that was a little bit later on, but again, he's better than some of your wingers. Let's not get started there.
He's fighting.
Yeah, it's easy work, isn't it, Ash? But, there was no sort of structure, there was no idea, there was no foresight. Then Emery comes in, and it wasn't an unmitigated disaster, but it wasn't good. And by the end, it turned toxic, right, for a few different reasons. And then this guy comes in, loses first few games, but builds something. And you just see that sort of progression every season, right? And even last season, I know, Ash, what you're going to say, but even last season, we went quite deep in the Champions League. And as I say to my friends, we were third in the Champions League last season. So, that's definitely progression.
Genuinely, I'm not mocking about the fact that what you're talking about Arteta. I'm just already thinking as is going to be like Ruben Amorim.
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm actually thinking. It sounds a bit like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but he can't take you to the next level. Is my question? Don't you need the winner? Okay, built it third, second, cup progression, good football, signings, culture change, but we need to win the Premier League.
Ole didn't take you from right at the bottom to a consistent...
AJ, a man of some sense.
Yeah, he didn't take you from right at the bottom to a consistent top. You're competing with Real Madrid, you're competing with City and financially dope City and Liverpool.
But is he a winner? That's the question. Where's the trophy? Even Ten Hag won a trophy.
2.
FA Cup. We've got the FA Cup. But I get what you're saying. It's so easy to say, oh, you definitely get in, Luis Enrique and Carlo Ancelotti and these guys. But there's definitely an emotional connection with Mikel Arteta. If there was a gun to my head and, you had to get one of those guys, if, this season doesn't go as well as we'd expect, you'd probably go.
There we go. We got him.
We got him in the end.
What was it? I didn't hear. Who was the name?
Oh, I didn't say the name. What were the options? Enrique, Klopp,
Carlo,
Ancelotti,
Pep.
and Pep.
Carlo. Yeah, probably not Pep.
Tuchel's also bored of England. He's done.
Where he got fired.
Nagelsmann's available. You've got your
Gareth Southgate's available. And Ollie.
Southgate's there.
AJ, you can take Ollie or Southgate. They're both available.
Eddie Howe's bored of Newcastle because they've sold Isak and he's you can have anyone.
Yeah, prime Fergie. He's bored of Winslow. Arrigo Sacchi, let's bring him in. Rinus Michaels,
Fergie,
what's he up to?
Now we're getting silly. Come on, I'm giving you Carlo Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola, Luis Enrique. These are realistic. Steve was telling me how Luis Enrique is coming to Old Trafford. Honestly. Apparently, something about us having a huge, I don't know, schlong. So, haven't you got the pulling power to get Enrique?
Carlo or Enrique, yeah, they're the two that you sort of want. And it's yin and yang, right?
Heard it here first. Arteta out.
And this is going to be clipped.
Right, okay. So just before we wrap up then, I just want to quickly touch on an incident on the weekend. So looking at some of the bigger results over the weekend, Liverpool won 4-2 against Bournemouth in the opening game on Friday night. Spurs won 3-0 against Burnley. And Man City won 4-0 against Wolves.
City looked good.
Yeah, they did look good. I had Carlin captain as well, so that was beautiful. And I think I'm leading the...
I see Ash has gone against his no Liverpool players and he's gone right in with Salah as captain. I'm like, wow.
There's no point playing otherwise. Not going to be able to compete.
Love it. No, I love it. I was like, this is great. Like, you're going from one extreme to another, so that was fun.
So, yeah.
Doing a Trump.
Set up well this season, but I want to just quickly touch on the incident at Anfield where the game was halted because Semenyo took some racial abuse from a fan. I believe the fan has now been banned. Is it for life, I think?
He's been arrested as well.
Arrested, stadium ban. Not sure if it's for life or not, but yeah, I guess
it should be.
AJ, let's start with you. Do you think that's enough of a punishment for racial abuse?
Yeah, I mean, what's the sort of punishment in a normal sort of world out of a football environment. That should apply, just because it's at football and he's, emotional, or there's no excuse really. Whatever the punishment should be, if you said something in the street, to someone, should apply. Yeah, it's awful, and it's not something. I know people sort of mock Liverpool and Liverpool fans, for a couple of things over the last sort of like 10 or 15 years, but generally my experience of Liverpool fans, it's not the case at all. I've never heard anything, sort of suggesting that that's a generalization or that's, standard for Liverpool fans or anyone like that. So yeah, it's pretty disgusting, really. I saw Wayne Rooney saying something today about it, and it was really good to see him speak up about this sort of stuff, especially someone with such an influence in the game.
What did he say?
He was talking about when he was a manager over in the US. I think it was at DC United.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was an incident where one of his players was racially abused, and the player, Rooney just said, he didn't name the player, but he said the player just cried in his arms. And it's quite sort of touching and emotional to hear that sort of stuff, right? Especially from someone like Rooney. You don't really expect that sort of depth of emotional intelligence. And it's not Chris. It sounds awful, but
Do you know we're getting Wayne Rooney on the pod next week?
that's getting clipped and sent to him. But my point was,
Scousers.
with sort of Rooney saying there needs to be points deductions or big fines, and that's the only way that teams will learn.
Oh, is that what he said? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, from my perspective, that is like, if you're going to go one step further with the punishments, that's probably what it is, isn't it? Points deductions for the team.
Yeah, I think it has to be, right. I think there's got to be sort of money. I can't really see fines being so substantial they're effective. 30 grand, 50 grand, that is pointless. So I think it's got to be a serious sort of fine. Sorry, just to mention something, Ash. A few years back when there was the PSG Galatasaray, I'm going to say or Besiktas, one of the Turkish teams, and the players just all walked off and played the game the next day. Something like that, I mean, would be so powerful. And, I think in that scenario, the PSG players were the ones insistent on them walking off. So, that sort of scenario would be, really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. Any suggestions on how it could be handled, these types of incidents?
Yeah, I think you've got to escalate it over time, though, because first incident, it's just not something I associate with, as AJ's saying, with Liverpool fans or Anfield. So I don't think you can suddenly go, I mean, I know you guys want to win the league, but, it's hopefully an isolated incident. We've seen it with other situations in other leagues where then they close the one stand down and then you have to play in an empty ground, and that does affect the team and the finances of the club, and then points deductions inevitable. But hopefully an isolated incident. I think more interestingly, I think this is a deep discussion. It just is it's not a football problem, it's a society problem. You've got to look at the polling in the UK and how strong Reform are doing. And you've got to think, why is that? Why is our Prime Minister always talking about boats and, we need, the immigrants and all of this, and, the grooming gangs? And it's like, I'm sorry, AJ, you're from Bury. I'm sure there's lots of white grooming gangs as well. Why is it always racialized? Everything's about the problems of society.
You need to ask Joey Barton that question.
Well, you get agitators, right?
Are you following the Let's Kick It Off Twitter feed? Yeah. It was just Joey Barton. So, I don't know who runs the Let's Kick It Off Twitter feed. I'm not going to own up to it. But someone did retweet, Joey Barton talking about the Marcus Rashford interview to Lineker. And he was just going off on one about how, how is this guy going to watch basketball in his diamond jewellery and what he's wearing. And it's just this is blatant undertones of racism. He's dressed like a rapper. It's like, sorry, what?
Three black people. There were 3 black people in that room as well, remember? Gary Lineker apparently has gone black.
It's just shocking. There's this underlying racism in society that people are just ignoring. And then this big incident comes where it's obvious, and then people get in a big kerfuffle about it. Let's talk about our own racist Prime Minister. We have a racist Prime Minister. he supports certain countries that are racist regimes, apartheid states, right? And we are essentially, as a nation, killing people across the world based on, racial superiority. We have a deep problem in the UK. We have a history that, we need to contend with. And it runs a lot deeper than one guy at Anfield, in my opinion. So I think we should, look at society as a whole, take it seriously. And this is the end result of all of this. Is this guy thinks it's okay to do what he did, and it's just
but
disgusting.
why don't we use football as a means for change? Because we have no faith in the government. So why doesn't football make a stance?
100%.
Why doesn't football make a stance and implement a points deduction? Because then do you think these fans would be doing?
No, I think that's what I'm saying. If it escalates,
But also ban them completely. Ban them from
100%.
football for life.
If
Don't
it
give them 5 years. Don't give them 5 year bans. Just ban them.
and if it escalates, like, it has to go to that of, like I said, the cop. I'm sorry, no one's going to be in the cop for X amount of games, right? Because you can't behave yourselves. But I'm hoping Liverpool.
It was one idiot at the time.
All the cities of all the places is generally one of the better ones, and I hope it's an isolated incident.
Yep. Okay. Well
Although
said.
Luis Suarez, so I saw a Jamie Carragher, the t-shirt, the Jamie Carragher t-shirt with the wheelchair. Just,
I think
that's brilliant.
Yeah, I think on the Carragher situation, sorry, Ash, just to say on the Carragher situation, I mean, it's not, I've definitely mocked him over that, what happened last Friday when he just sort of ignored the comments. And, you saw Gary Neville not on the studio, but sort of in the gantry and then on the pitch afterwards. And Gary Neville had no issues with calling it out. And, you saw quite a bit of an emotion in Red Nev, that you didn't see in Jamie Carragher. And I don't know whether that's because he's a Liverpool fan, he's ashamed, but also he's in a tricky position, right? No matter what he does, he's going to get hammered. I'm sure Redknapp got hammered for what he said last Friday by, the right wing and reform and all that sort of stuff. But I felt a little bit sorry for Jamie Carragher. It's easy to mock him, and I definitely did for, passing over it, without sort of commentary. But
he has precedent though. Like, this isn't the first time. Like, Patrice Evra, he wore the t-shirt for Luis Suarez when he didn't have to. All right, obviously that's not just Jamie Carragher in that instance. A lot of those Liverpool players didn't have to do what they did. But the point is, it's like he doesn't play for Liverpool Football Club anymore. He works for Sky. Gary Neville was
in football.
Neville was able to give an opinion. And what I like about Gary Neville's opinion is that he has been on the other side. He's referenced this point a lot of times about how in 2003, Ashley Cole got racially abused in the Bernabeu Stadium. Neville made a point of he didn't do anything. He didn't speak. He sat next to Ashley Cole in the England change room at halftime, didn't say anything. And he regrets that. And the one thing I would say about Redknapp over the last few years, whether it's on the political side or on the racial side, he's spoken up. And I don't see why Jamie Carragher can't. He's an intelligent enough guy. He makes good football points. Why can't he just even advocate for the fact that, this is a societal problem? Bigger than what he said, right? He essentially just said it was one idiot. We know that, Jamie Carragher. So tell us something that, that is going to actually influence and help people, and that's the bigger point I think for the Carragher situation. So I don't have the same amount of sympathy.
Okay.
And I guess like as a final closing, I got the Anton Semenyo statement. I'm not going to read it all, but I think even the first paragraph is like powerful enough. Last night at Anfield will stay with me forever, not because of one person's words, but because of how the entire football family stood together. So to Steve's point, football's trying, but it's a much, much bigger problem, and it's a huge thing where we need to vocalize every incident, and there's got to be massive punishment to what Az has said.
So let's end on a positive and have a quick look ahead to the next game week, because it's a tasty game week. So we've got West Ham Chelsea Friday night football at the West Ham Stadium, if that's what it's called, and then you've got Man City Spurs early kickoff on Saturday lunchtime.
That's a good one.
And then, you've got your 3 p.m s, and then you've got Arsenal Leeds 5:30 Saturday night. Should be a good game. Sunday, we've got Fulham United, the potential banana skin. And if we lose that game, Us, you're going to be on the spot in the next pod. And then Monday night, we've got Newcastle, Liverpool as well. So
The Isak derby.
I don't think Isak's going to go through before that fixture, is it? So
No.
Yeah.
I think the winner gets custody of Isak, right?
Yeah, exactly. The big question is, who are you guys going for as your FPL captain this game week? Have you thought about it? Shesko, Us? You got the bottle?
I haven't thought about it, but how do you go away from, like I said earlier, Erling Haaland, in my opinion, the best striker in the Premier League and the best maybe in the world. Tottenham, I think, look a lot better under Thomas Frank, so I might have to think about it. Early kickoff, 12:30. Usually, it's not the best time. You hate to put your captain at the 12:30 on the Saturday, right? Because you kind of burnt it, and then you're like, oh, he blanks 2 points, and you're just sweating, waiting for that Salah hat-trick and etc., etc. So I might have to think about it. But yeah, it's obviously the armband's on Haaland at the moment. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've got it with him. He's my big gun, so I think I'm going to stick with him. I've got Palmer in my team as well, but yeah, he didn't do anything against Palace, so I don't think I'll be going with the Friday night fixture there. So yeah, I think it's going to be the baby to Haaland, I think. What about you, Ash?
A difficult, obviously, kind of like go-to is obviously Mo Salah, but I'm looking at that fixture list. I don't have Cole Palmer, but it's a bit of a banana skin, West Ham, Chelsea, because West Ham are terrible against Sunderland, so you'd think Cole Palmer would get chances. But Friday night, under the lights, London derby, West Ham could just randomly turn up for that. It's a tough one. Like, looking at those Saturday fixtures as well, nothing really stands out. Probably Arsenal, but I'm trying to think. I don't think I've got any Arsenal players.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
I'm
Mo
fully
Salah.
out of Arsenal because of the first fixture, so I didn't want to have any Arsenal games.
Yeah, because of they got Liverpool away after that.
And then
That's why I
Liverpool
stayed.
away. So, but I didn't see the Friday night Chelsea. I've got Cole Palmer. Maybe I'm going to go even earlier. Friday night, Cole Palmer again. West Ham, I don't rate Graham Potter. West Ham don't look good.
I've got
They're
a couple
probably in
of
my bottom
absolute
six
random
this season. So maybe there's the wild card.
I've got a couple of random options just looking at my team. If I was to be really punchy, Chris Wood against Crystal Palace. Like, you got 2 goals on Sunday. And one of my old favourites and FPL favourites, Ollie Watkins against Brentford. Brentford didn't look good. So there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, I've got Watkins as well, actually.
Steve, I'll tell you what, Brentford and my other pick I haven't done my predictions yet for the season. I've put some time aside on Friday, but I'm tossing a coin whether I put Brentford in the relegation zone. I'm not convinced. New manager, Wissa,
Set-piece coach.
Norgard, I know, AJ, you said, but for me, he was big for Brentford stability.
Yeah.
So Ollie Watkins against Brentford.
Old
I
team,
don't have
right?
Ollie Watkins, so have you got? You do FPL, AJ?
No, I don't. I was just going to say, Ollie Watkins, that was his previous team, Brentford, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Has a
might
good
be up
record,
for
I
it.
think, as well. I mean, the only, again, if you call him banana skin, it's away from home. Can Brentford turn up? But yeah, that's my options anyway. Cole Palmer otherwise. But yeah, I think Steve's got the kind of like no-brainer, just go with Haaland. It's at home. City got a good record against Spurs as well.
One thing I'd say is Van der Ven, if he's fit, which he is at the moment, is such a good centre-back. Of all the speed merchants that Haaland's going to come up against, I always look at matchups, and Thomas Frank, Van der Ven, Romero, tough. That's a tough one. Cole Palmer or Haaland, I'll toss a coin.
I think I've just decided I'm going to go Haaland because after all, lads, it's Spurs. So on that bombshell, we will wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us on this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.